Welcome into the UTRGV Coaches Show with the head coach of the Vaqueros, Travis Bush, joining us after a big win, the first conference win in program history for the Vaqueros, 27-7 over Houston Christian. Coach, you have to feel great after a performance like that.
Definitely, and really, it's hard to win football games at any level, especially this one and in this league. So, to come away with a victory last night, so proud of our young men, the staff, the job, the growth throughout this week, and couldn't be more proud of that group of young men in the locker room last night.
And going into Southland Conference play, I know you mentioned how much of a challenge it was going to be in this conference to perform the way you did, not just win, but I mean really have a stellar performance on both sides of the ball, especially up front. It seemed like on the line of scrimmage you guys did a tremendous job handling the Houston Christian team that had some great athletes on both sides.
We did. Again, proud of our young men, our staffs. We knew that's kind of where the battles needed to be won. We knew felt like we can get after them up front with our defensive line. Defensive line did a phenomenal job, and defensive staff, the way those guys played up front allowed us to kind of sit back in some zones and force them to hold the football, which resulted in a lot of sacks. We witnessed that last week with Southeastern's front line. So for them to be able to play the way they did and the way they're doing right now, again, the number one key on our plan to win is play great defense, and we're playing great defense right now. So just so excited for those guys, and it boiled down to what we had to do in the second half was keep the defense off the field, run the football with what they were doing up front, and our offensive line came in, did a great job there throughout the game, really entirety, but definitely imposing their will there in the second half and the fourth quarter. So again, commending the guys in the trenches, but really just proud of everybody. Great team win last night.
All right, well, we're going to get into the defense a little bit more coming up later, but we're going to start with Eddie Lee Marburger, a local favorite, made some huge plays in this game, including the first rushing touchdown. We're going to take a close-up look at it first, and then we're going to have you break it down for us a little bit after that.
Yeah, he's again, he seems to kind of deceiving, probably faster than what he looks. But again, that was a drive that sparked this kind of two series where we didn't convert and hit a big play to Zay on that drive, and then come down. It's a third down, got to convert. They're in man coverage here, and he goes through his progressions. And the answer, if they're all covered, is nobody's covering him. So he does what he's supposed to do there and takes off, and again uses his wheels there, and even makes a move on a safety here. And gets in the end zone for the first score there.
And that linebacker, really has a choice, right? When the running back's leaking out, we saw the linebacker highlighted and then the running back highlighted. He can either, leave his assignment and go try to get after Eddie and, risk that running back kind of leaking out and making a big play, or risk kind of trying to stay with the linebacker, stay with the running back, and risking Eddie going to the house, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, look at you. We could have used you in the press box last night.
I think you guys have it handled. I don't think you need me to step in there. Speaking of you guys having it handled, you guys, after that big play from Eddie, second half, you come out and you start using Eddie as a runner a lot more in this game, and it seemed like almost a secret weapon that you guys were able to use consistently going back to Eddie in the ground game, and they had a tough time stopping it on the other side.
Their defense is really good. We knew that going in. It was going to be a struggle. It was going to be a challenge. They did some things up front. Again, they did some things second way to take away the big plays, which was going to force us to run the football. And then some things they were doing up front. One of the answers was quarterback run with a lead blocker. And so we knew we were going to have to utilize him. And he's a tough competitor. You can see him take some shots. And I tried to actually take him out in the fourth quarter and rest him, but he did. He wanted to finish the thing off. But definitely proud of his efforts, his leadership, and the toughness and the grit he showed. But you can see here that was one of the answers, just using the tailback as a lead blocker, gaining that extra hat, and using his big athletic body as a runner. But definitely that first series that came down, and then he finished it off there on the goal line there.
Yeah, Eddie Lee, just a great job. 2 rushing touchdowns in the game. We saw the first one earlier, second one right there. Tremendous night for him on the ground. We've seen it as a passer, and now we see it on the ground game. Got to be nice to have a quarterback that can just do whatever you ask him to do.
Well, without a doubt, and he is, like I say, he's a competitor. He knows, we had some conversation at halftime. He knows he didn't play as good as he could the first half, and a lot of it had to do with what they were doing defensively. And we knew what the plan was in the second half, and he executed it great. And so just proud of his toughness, his efforts, and his leadership.
Well, still made some big plays, but we really got to focus on the defense because it was their night over at Robert and Janet Vacker Stadium. We're going to break down some of the big plays from that unit coming up next here on the UTRGV Coaches Show. Welcome back into the UTRGV Coaches Show with the head coach of the Vaqueros football team, Travis Bush. Coach, your defense had a tremendous night from start to finish, and it started on that first drive with Logic Hudgens making the big play in the secondary, getting the interception, and it was really all defense all night long for you guys from there on.
Yeah, they're great group. Proud of them. They've been playing great all season long. And again, great start here to the game, second play of the game. And Logic, he's such a big physical force out there on the edge, and really, I think he's continuing to get better each week. But the defense, again, to hold someone to 7 points and the way they did, and as much as they were on the field in the first half, but tremendous effort. Our defensive staff does a great job, and Coach Campbell, love him. Again, that we play against that defense every day. It's a struggle, but really excited about the way they're playing. And if you can play great defense, you got a chance. And
talking about that interception, you know what they say in the Valley now about Logic Hudgens?
What's that?
Throwing Logic's way is not a smart move for opposing offenses. That's what they're saying now across the 956. Well, not only was it Logic's night, but also the defensive line you mentioned a little bit earlier, just continuing to put pressure on Houston Christian rather, and it seemed like you guys didn't even need to scheme up a lot of creative pressures. It was just them lining up, beating their guys, winning up front and making those big plays.
Yeah, and I've always said, I think players kind of take over the personalities of their coach, and if you know our D-line coaches, Coach Langford and Coach Lockhart, then you understand why the D-line plays with that energy and that passion they do, because those guys live that way every single day. They do a great job coaching, but it is that is true. If you can get some pressure like that with your front four, then you could play zone coverage, allow force the quarterback to hold the football, and get that pressure on the quarterback. And so again, phenomenal job, great job scheming by our defensive staff, but definitely it starts with those guys up front and the way those guys played on the edge. Ian Box, Webster's playing good, and we were down some men. We had some guys banged up there, but the next guy came up, and again, credit to those guys. But we knew that that could be the ticket if we can get after that O-line, and they did a phenomenal job.
Well, Ian Box was certainly a handful for them to deal with all night long. Let's take a look at some of the defensive pressure that you guys were able to create. Break it down a little bit for us. Ian Box going to make the plays on these first two plays.
Yeah, he's so quick off that edge, and he's got the speed to come around. And if you start trying to take a wider pass set like they do here, then he's going to beat you underneath. And does a great job coming off the ball, gets him on the underneath move, and gets his arms around the quarterback and hangs on. That was a huge play there for us there, I believe, in the second quarter to push him back. Again, coming off the edge now, just around the outside, and Big 75 didn't have enough speed to take him. But again, his get off, again, great job using his hands, just the technique. Those guys are taught day in, day out, and probably no position works harder than those edges. And so just great to see all that come into play. Here's Jamarcus coming off the edge there, using his strength to beat him off the edge. And again, just getting that pressure. You can see we got zone coverage back there. They're all covered. Allows it, force the quarterback to hold the football so those front four can go to work.
And then last one here through the middle. Now, you guys get it off the edge a few times, and then Andrew Ariola able to just show his strength, burst through the middle here, and get another sack for you guys.
Yeah, just him just fighting off, and just the relentless effort you see from him. Getting in there, finding the gap, using his hands, using his technique, and tracking that quarterback, and just then bursting there to finish off the sack there. Another huge play for us there in the second half to put him behind the chains.
You guys had 6 total sacks on the evening. One more time, go ahead and have the praise on the defensive line, because you mentioned just to create that pressure up front, it really stopped Houston Christian from getting anything going. And even when you go further with it, the 7 points that you guys allowed, you stopped them on the goal line at the 1-yard line, 3-4 times. You kept stuffing the run there. The defensive line had a great night. You guys were, inches away from getting a shutout there when you had Houston Christian going for it on 4th down.
Yeah, had they not called that timeout, we'd have stuffed them on that 4th down, but the smart job by Coach Bachtel to call that timeout. But really, that was a 17-play drive. Took up most of the second quarter. And I think there was a couple of penalties we got there, but other than that, that was the one big drive they had the whole game. And defense again played lights out, played phenomenal. Again, and two things: you play great defense, and your quarterback's playing well. You got a chance to win ball games.
Well, you still had to close the game out in the 4th quarter. Still needed to make some big plays. Went into the 4th quarter, and still a 1-score game. So you guys still had to put the finishing touches on that one. We're going to break down some of the big plays from the 4th when we return on the UTRGV Coaches Show. Welcome back into the UTRGV Coaches Show with head coach Travis Bush. Now, Coach, for as much as we look back on it, 27-7, we celebrate a big win for you guys. Still came down to the 4th quarter, needing to make some big plays, needing to make some big decisions, and you guys were able to hit all the right buttons and shut them out in the 4th and get the win.
Yeah, that's another key on our keys to victory each week is winning the fourth quarter and knowing that these games are going to come down to the fourth quarter, big conference games, and again, just proud of the way our guys dominated there and moved the football like we had to, run the clock, and then made some stops, made fourth down stops, and got turnovers there defensively. So again, just dominated that fourth quarter, and again, proud of them, meeting those expectations.
Well, one of the big fourth down stops came right here. Elijah Prosser making the big play. Houston Christian needing to go for it here, down 2 scores, and Prosser was able to break this pass up and get you guys the ball back.
Yeah, that was huge. I think it's 17-7 at that point, still early in the fourth, so a lot of time left on their end. But came after him there with blitz, played man coverage. Great job there by Elijah coming in at the right time. As close as you can get without a penalty there. But great job by him using his technique and getting his hands in front and not getting the penalty there.
Timing's everything there. I know there was a few plays in that game that could have gone either way. I think Logic had a PI at one point that was a real close one and a pivotal set of downs. So, great job, as you mentioned, by Elijah, making sure not to get the penalty there, get them off the field, and bring the offense back out to close things out. Yeah,
that was good. Huge point, because then I think from there went down and scored, and that really kind of put the game out of reach for him and put a lot of pressure on him.
Well, from there, you guys, again, we mentioned tremendous play from the offensive line. Running game was strong in the second half for you guys. You're able to run down the field, again, and you guys using the read option well. Eddie Lee Marburger and Fabian Garcia had some key roles in there. But let's look at the touchdown here. You guys were able to get him on the play action and get Ishmael Smith-Flores wide open for the score.
Yeah, good. It was first down. We just been pounding the rock there and in the goal line set, so it was first down. Felt like we could sneak him out, and again, Eddie did a good job executing and making his choice there between him and really had 3 guys out there. But Ishmael's a big body, big talented tight end, so excited to get him in the end zone again. But again, credit to that. That was a good drive. Good drive to make it a 3-score game there.
Is it almost hard to believe looking back? I mean, 27-7, everyone says big win, impressive win, but at the beginning of the fourth quarter, you must have been feeling like, all right, this is still intense, this is still anybody's game, we got to get the job done. Now we look back and we say, man, it was easy, right? 20-point win.
It's never easy. It felt like still, both sides of football. You look back, felt like we still, again, didn't play our best in the first half offensively. Probably tried to do too many different things, but they did a good job. Their defense was good. They haven't allowed many points all year. Credit to them, but felt like we could have, still could have maybe got some touchdowns instead of field goals, but felt like we still left some points out there. So we still got a lot of things to keep improving. But it goes back to, again, you're playing good teams. They're gonna force mistakes on you and things like that. But again, proud. No, it's never easy. All the way through the fourth quarter, it was still a grind. But again, credit to our guys, the poise, the resilience, the confidence they showed last night to be their best when their best was needed.
Obviously halftime adjustments are a huge part of the game. I heard your press conference or your interview walking off at halftime, on the broadcast, talking about the adjustments you guys needed to make. Do you feel like going into the locker room, it was just a matter of hitting those right buttons, making the right adjustments, and coming out stronger? Do you feel like that was a big part of what was able to swing the game in your guys' direction in the second half?
Yeah, I think really it was just consistency offensively, because really that was the big thing in the first half was our defense was on the field. We came in, you look at the stats, they'd run 48 plays, we'd run 23. They had the ball almost 20 minutes to our 10. So we knew we had to flip that in the second half, or your defense is going to get worn out. So we knew we had to run the ball. We're going to take our time more. So really, and the key was to take that opening drive and come down and score. And really putting it in Eddie's hands. We knew we had to do some things and use him as a runner because of what they were doing up front. He was putting in the trenches down there. So proud of the way again they executed. And again, defense came on the field and got the stops. So again, we did flip it the whole second half. I think they ran 20 plays to our 40, and we had the ball 20 minutes. So it was proud of them to execute that. And again, great job by the defense to get the stops the entire game, and then the offense to turn it up second half and really do what we needed to do.
Well, one more time, shout out to the defense, the UTRGV defense. Tremendous night for them. But when we return, we're going to get into some of the other big offensive plays of the night here on the UTRGV Coaches Show. That's coming up when we come back. Welcome back into the UTRGV Coaches Show. Coach, it wasn't a big game for you guys in the passing game, as we've seen a few times earlier this season, but Xavier Nolan's still making some big plays for you guys, key plays at key times, and we're going to show 2 of them here. One of them in the first half, setting up that first touchdown for you guys. Yeah,
and that's part of the explosive plays they've had early in the season, and that's why Houston Christian did some things to take that away. So we tried there. We were able to get him down the seam there in the really the first quarter. Drive started there and kind of caught him in the zone where he can sneak in the hole there. And a great job by Eddie reading it and putting the ball on him. And of course, anytime the ball can get in his hands, he's electric. But they did a good job taking some things away down the field to Zay, to Tony. So really, probably the mistake was trying to force a lot of that early, and then just taking what they gave us in the second half. But here's a big play, a big conversion there in the second half. With again, hats off to the O-line for holding that protection there and giving Eddie the time to find Zay. But they were covering a lot of things down the field well. But great job coming back to the football and getting his arms under the football there.
Tremendous stuff from the offense. And then, of course, we mentioned the ground game. Fabian Garcia doing a great job as well. You guys played him a lot in this game. We talked about the versatility you guys have at running backs, the depth that you guys have at that position. He played a lot of snaps, and he made a lot of big plays for you guys.
Yeah, him and TJ, carried the load last night with Denny being out, and he's so quick and explosive. Really a big explosive play there in the opening drive of the second half to kind of spark us there and get us down in the red zone to help us put that first touchdown in.
We're going to take a look at some of his big runs here. Fabian, obviously, as we mentioned, making the big plays, and you mentioned that big run that really set you guys up to go ahead in this game.
Yeah, so got this opening drive of the second half and got him there on a counter to the right. He squeezed through that hole and burst, and he's got great speed and good job. But you can see him here, does a great job. Patience following his blockers, but when he sees that hole, he bursts through there and gets us down in the red zone, and then we're able to punch that in there the first drive.
Well, great stuff from Fabian all night. You guys were able to repeatedly go back to him and rely on him to pick up key yardage on the ground in order to pick up the win. When we return, we're going to talk about next week, which is conveniently a bye week for you guys, much-deserved bye week. We're going to discuss that with Coach when we return on the UTRGV Coaches Show. Welcome back into the UTRGV Coaches Show with the head coach of the Vaqueros football team, Travis Bush. Now, Coach, when we take a look at your schedule here, pull it up here, you guys going into a bye week, much-deserved bye week after picking up the win against Houston Christian, moving to 5-1 on the season, and getting you guys 2 weeks to prepare for a road test against Lamar.
Yeah, it comes at a good time, the right time for us, kind of right here, halftime in this, able to get a couple of conference games under our belt and kind of get a taste of what the Southland is. The road's going to be tough coming up. Lamar, Incarnate Word, SFA have all been ranked. I know Incarnate Word may drop out, but Lamar just had another big conference win, so they're going to be tough going on the road. But again, it's 6 tough games left, and the second half's going to be a lot tougher than the first half. So, but a good chance to fine-tune some details. Still growing, still building as a program. So much we can improve on, and we're growing and improving every week. We got to get healthy. A lot of guys we got to get healthy. So it comes at a good time, but definitely going to get some crisp work done and get some rest next week.
And for the first time this season, we actually have some real conference standings that we can look at. Everybody's finally played a game, so we can pull up that conference standings rankings right now. You guys at 1-1, and officially everybody played a game, got a game under their belt on Saturday.
Yeah, and just kind of Southeastern did they went to McNeese and beat them 38-0. So kind of as you get in the field, you kind of get a gauge of how everybody is. Look, turns out Southeastern's pretty dang good, but Stephen F went to Incarnate Word and beat them yesterday, and of course Lamar beat Nichols. Lamar's done a good job, and they beat some good teams across the board. So it's going to be a tough road. You can see two out of our next 3 are in the top 3 there, and it's going to be a tough road. But we're going to be ready for the challenge as we had every week, and utilize next week to start preparing for that second half.
So talk to us about that a little bit. Give the fans some insight when you go into a bye week. How do you kind of manage that with the team? How do you kind of balance, giving them a little bit of rest, but also preparing, taking the extra time that you have to get 2 weeks to get ready for Lamar?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it, and I've been a part of it. Where you grind all week and you prepare, but then there's also that phase where you need to give yourself a physical break, a mental break as well. So we're still going to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Chris practice is not very physical, but enough to fine-tune some things, stay in shape, and then get some rest. Give them the entire next weekend off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Coaches as well. We'll have coaches on the road recruiting, so it is a chance for us to get on the road, get to some of these junior colleges and high schools, and see some games. So half the staff will be gone during the week, and we'll practice with a skeleton staff there. But definitely getting on the road and utilizing this time to recruiting. That never stops. So we'll be recruiting this week as well. I'll be out next weekend recruiting, so definitely a lot of things to work on and get busy this week.
Well, amid all the recruiting and the preparation and the rest, if you have time, we'll do another coaches show during the bye week.
Well, it's going to have to be at the beach if we're going to do that.
At the beach? I think we can make that happen.
Yeah?
I feel like I'd need like a beach shirt.
Well, you can't wear the suit. So
Yeah, I can't wear the suit on the beach.
we actually brought you UTRGV quite a bit here. So there you go.
All right, there we go.
You can wear that to the beach next week for the show.
Join us next week for the UTRGV Coaches Show from South Padre Island. I think we'll have a lot of fun out there.
There you go.
We look forward to it. Thanks so much. We will be back next week, I guess, from South Padre Island for the UTRGV Coaches Show. For myself, KJ Doyle, and head coach of the Vaqueros, Travis Bush. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.